Okay, so in today's video I'm going to show you how to make an application that stays behind, that has a windowing system in AvaloniaUI that always stays behind everything else. So it's effectively at the desktop level. So let me demo what this looks like. So we're gonna debug this application, which is an application I built that uses this functionality. We're currently in Windows, and as you can see, it is behind all other windows. I can click around on it, and it will not be on top of other windows. Well, in Windows it sometimes glitches like this, but that glitching isn't present in like macOS and Linux, for example. And I can also show you that if I switch between desktops, it stays at the background level. And if I go to this, it doesn't show up here. No matter what I switch to, it stays there. I can just interact with the thing, so I can like double click on something. There we go. So I'm gonna show you how to do this, and we'll go from here. So I'm actually gonna demo this with a new project. So I'm gonna open a new window, create a new project, and we're gonna create this one. Pretty sure the names are a little bit confusing, but I'm gonna just call this stay behind demo. That's the name I'm gonna call it. We're gonna make it in the same directory as the solution for the demo purposes. This is fine. I'm gonna wait for Visual Studio to initialize itself. We have to build it. There we go. Let's make a window that stays behind. So effectively, what we can do, so we can add a new item. Class is, you can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it Win32 interrupt for obvious reasons. And we're gonna just copy and paste all of this. And we're gonna copy and paste all of this. And yep, we have interrupt services. So let's add this code to the window. So we do opened, got a new event handler. That's the event handler if operating system is Windows. Then we do that. And what this does, adds two event handlers. So adds a method to open and to activate it. And this is, yeah, I think we can make it static actually. Can we? If I make it static, I think we can just make it static and it has no effect on it. Let's actually try this. Okay, it did not work for some reason. Let's actually see why. I'm gonna pause and figure out what the fuck I'm doing wrong. Okay, I may have figured out what's going on. So due to the way my code works with multiple windows, it wasn't necessary in my case, but in your case it may be necessary to add this bit of code. So if it's loaded as well, you set the position. Because if I don't do this, I'll show you what happens. This is what I had before. So it's gonna be like this. But if I click away, it goes behind. So if I add this, it does stay behind like right from the start. And we can well, in theory we could switch from workspace to workspace, but it doesn't seem to work in this case. What? Usually it does. Wait. So I suspect this happens because we have all the window decorations. So let me show you why you don't really want window decorations in this for this scenario. So we can click inside the window and that works perfectly fine. But if I click on the title bar, it goes to the front, and that's undesirable. So to hide window decorations, there's a couple of things we should do. So we're gonna copy these. This removes all decorations. However, in Windows it works a little differently. So if I do that, the reason we need that is, let me show you what happens if I do it normally. So you see you have these borders around the window. That is actually undesirable. It doesn't happen in Linux, but in Linux we need all of this. But if we're on Windows or macOS, we need to rechange these variables back. And if we do that, it's gonna be like this, and it's gonna stay behind. And yeah. Okay, right now the reason it isn't across multiple workspaces is because if you take a look at the taskbar, it's right here, and if I Alt Tab, it's also here. So we don't want that. So we can do show in taskbar false. And I should get rid of it in the taskbar, like that. But it's still in the Alt Tab, so we need to get rid of that as well. Okay, I figured this out. This is actually a really funny bug that has a really simple workaround. So the workaround is to go to loaded and set this like that. Actually, we can even do it in the opened, right? As well. We don't even need to put it in loaded. It should disappear from Alt Tab, right? Yeah. So it disappears from Alt Tab, and we can switch between desktops, and it stays on the desktop. So no matter what we do, if we try to click on it, it doesn't get focus. So that's Windows part done. Let's see. Yeah, we have some stuff to do with macOS and Linux. So we're gonna just make this say I am behind every other window, and if I run this, it's behind every other window. Now we can even change, like, customize the location of it. So if I go to, like, have the new pixel point, if we do that, and then Windows startup location equals manual as well, it should start at the top right left corner like that, right here. So that's cool. And we can even make the background transparent. So if we do that, it's just white text here, which is really cool because you can have like some text here that shows stars and stuff. So the next OS I'm gonna demo doing this on is Linux with KDE desktop environment, and we'll see you there. Okay, so we're in Linux. Actually demo this with desktop icons as well. So right now we have this working. So we're gonna have like other windows be behind it, and we're gonna show you what happens with our stay behind demo. So if you run this,
it claims to be behind every other window, but it's actually not. And we can click in the area where the window is. So actually, to make it a little more obvious, I'm gonna change the code a little bit. So the background is it's like black. It's like light, not wheat. I know both start with WH, but that's not what I'm looking for. So yeah, it doesn't stay behind. And if you do Alt Tab, it's right there, stay behind demo. So in Linux, there are these wonderful things called window rules. So I have the interface in Estonian, but it's basically window rules in KDE settings app. So what you want to do is click on add new. You can give it any description what you want. So it's gonna say stay behind demo. Now window class, this is important. It has to be exact match and the name of your app that appears in the Alt Tab switcher. Not necessarily the Alt Tab switcher, but if you go to System Monitor and you go to Applications here, actually processes. Stay behind demo. That's the window class you're looking for. So stay behind demo. That's the window class. You wanna add a rule. So we're gonna do. So keep below other windows. This one's important. Omit from the taskbar. Omit from desktop switcher. Omit from the switcher, which is Alt Tab menu. And there's also I think layer as well you wanna do. Okay, so you wanna do force. You wanna set yes on that. You wanna do force, yes. Force. I'm just scrolling to switch between options. I think it's really buggy with the theme I'm using. Yeah, yes, and force it. And layer is below, I think, is the one you want to use. So you want to do that, and it doesn't get focus. We're gonna see if I can find a window rule that allows it to stay in all workspaces. We'll see. Well, I haven't really found a window rule that allows you to do this. Maybe it exists and I'm just dumb, but so that's how you do it in Linux. No coding hell really. So we're gonna go over to macOS and show you how to do it there, which will be more interesting.
Okay, last but not least, we're on macOS. And anyway, so let's just really quickly demo how this works in macOS. So this is how I have it set up in macOS. So let's open like a Finder window. I can click on these and they will not come in front. And if we open like Expose, it stays everywhere. So that's how it works on macOS. I'm just gonna. So let's see how our current setup works with this. So we're gonna launch it and see if it stays behind every other window. And as expected, it does not. Not to mention it's on the taskbar and it has this ugly title here, and it's just a bunch of poopy nonsense. So let's fix this. So actually I have some Firefox window hidden here. I'm just noob at macOS, don't worry about that. So let's just copy all of this. I have all of the code in the Git repo, should you need this. But I'll be honest, I don't really understand how this works. It's Command V, not Control V. I'm stupid. And we're gonna just import to that. And yeah, thanks to Alben's corner on Reddit for providing this. I made like one slight modification to it, so we can still click on it if you don't need clickability and never want the window to have focus. You can set this to true, and it'll work. Yeah. Another thing we wanna do is go in the code here and just add a little else if operating system is macOS. We put in this code, macOS interrupt dot set window properties, and that should do it. So it's behind. The real issue we run into is the menu bar. So we see this black box here. Let me actually demonstrate why this is a problem. So desktop and dock, we're gonna change some settings here. There was a setting, I swear, that allowed you to hide it. This one. Yeah, there we go. Now we can demo this issue. So this will be in the way if you set it to 0, 0. There's not really a fix for this unless you just set a margin for the window, or you maybe like put it in. Yeah, just setting a margin for it is the best one. I think I can recommend doing. So in full screen mode only is the default, I think. So we're gonna set it to like 30 by 30, and this will hopefully, yeah, work as expected. Set the margin a little differently if we want. Looks like visually neater, and there we go. We can also make the background transparent. Which doesn't work because we need to set this to 1. I was confusing it with something else. It needs to be transparent. That's what it needs to be. Maybe now show that. Yeah, it works perfectly now. You can see it's behind every other window. Now it does gain focus and show the window title. Easy fix for the ugly window title on any Avalonia application is to just set a name property here. Just gonna say stay behind them or something whatever you want in here, and that'll show up in the menu bar if you launch the application. So if I click on it, it's different now. Another problem we have is that it shows up in the dock. It does show up on every workspace, which is interesting. And it's below the desktop, so in the it's below the desktop, so it shows up on every workspace, and it's not visible in the application switcher or the expose view. So final one more thing we should do is with show in doc false, and I think if I know my C#, it needs to be like this. You can even do it like this. It'll work. So now it doesn't show up in the menu, in the dock, and it's behind every other window. If you don't want it to be focusable, as I said, you can set this to true, and it'll ignore all the mouse clicks. So it just shows up as if you clicked on the desktop. Same effect. It just yeah, it's like it's not even there. That's what that option does. Actually, let's add like a click event. So click, left pointer pressed, and we do this content. You clicked. I'm just experimenting around and playing around with how this. Yeah, it does register clicks even though it doesn't gain focus, which is really interesting. So this was the tutorial on how to make an application, multi-platform application that stays behind all other windows in AvaloniaUI. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.